The Open Budget Survey Tracker, OBS Tracker, allows citizens, civil society, media and others to monitor in real time whether central governments are realizing the requisite information on how the government is managing public finances. Vietnam's Open Budget Index in 2012 was a low level of 19 points on the 100-point scale. What are the reasons for that, and what should be done to improve the country's budget transparency? Let's find out in the following talk. Joel Friedman, thank you so much for joining our program today. The first question is the Open Budget System Tracker is a tool within the Open Budget Survey program. Can you tell us in detail about the tracker?
Sure. Well, let me first talk about the Open Budget Survey, which is a survey that we've been doing for several years, since 2006. And that's the survey looks at 8 key budget documents that international standards think governments should make available to their citizens. And the survey looks first at whether or not the documents are made available to the public, and then what the contents of those documents are, how much detail they provide on revenues and expenditures and debt. And then the survey also has some questions about other actors in the budget process, the role of the legislature and the auditor and citizens. And so the survey we do, there's 125 questions, it's very long, and we do it every 2 years. It's conducted by civil society researchers, and we've been doing it every year since 2006, and the most recent version was in 2012. So we've now just launched the tracker, which only looks at one of the questions that the survey covers, which is the availability of those 8 key budget documents that international standards say should be made public. So the tracker is released more regularly every month, and it's also only a pilot program for us. It's only covered in 30 countries.
According to the International Budget Partnership's results, in 2012, Vietnam's score was very low at 19 points out of a 100-point scale. What was the causes for that?
So Vietnam scored relatively low at 19 because it published only 5 of the 8 documents that international standards recommend to be published. It's increased the number of documents that it's published since 2006, so its score has actually gone up from where it was. But 19 is still low. It's below the average of 43, which is the average score for all 100 countries. And really the single biggest reason that its score is so low is because it does not make available to the public the executive budget proposal, the draft budget. And that's a very important, the most important budget document. It's really where the executive lays out its policies and programs and how it's going to spend the revenue and on what programs and what its priorities are. And it's important that that's provided to the public in advance of it becoming a law. But it accounts for, because of its importance, it accounts for more than half of the questions in the survey. And typically, countries make that available to the public. Of the 100 countries surveyed in the questionnaire, 79 of them made it available to the public. Vietnam was unusual. It made many other documents available, but not that one, and that's the one that has such a big impact on its score.
So I suppose that the Open Budget Index might have typical impacts on Vietnam's economy, on foreign investor confidence and people confidence on the government as well. Do you think so?
So you're right. We do think that investors look at the OBI score. Research has shown that countries that have high levels of fiscal transparency actually tend to have higher credit ratings and therefore can borrow more cheaply on the international markets. IMF research has also shown that higher levels of fiscal transparency lead to more credible fiscal outcomes and better performance, better fiscal performance. So increasing budget transparency can have improvements for the economy overall. And in addition, I think there's evidence that increased transparency and a more open budget system also can lead to a more efficient and effective use of government resources. And that's, of course, an important thing. It can stop money from going to the wrong places, leakages. It can also potentially even reduce corruption in the process.
And last but not least, can you share experience of other countries, especially those at the same development level in Vietnam, in opening their budget?
So of the 100 countries that are part of the survey, we have a wide range of countries, many that are in the same economic status as Vietnam. And their country's economic status is really not an indicator of their level of budget transparency or fiscal transparency. What we've also seen in the last survey in 2012, low-income countries like Honduras and Afghanistan, in the space of 2 years, increased their score by almost 40 points. So large increases in a short period of time. That governments can make these documents available to the public and open up the budget process at a low cost.
Thank you so much for joining our program today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.